Let's move on to the Liberals. They're welcome to talk to our viewers too. That's actually what I wanted to talk to you about today. Not all Liberals are afraid of Keean, like Andrew Scheer was. To my surprise, the Liberal mayor of Calgary, Naheed Nenshi, took one of Keean's questions the other day and actually gave not a bad answer to it. Look at this.
Do you think that the ongoing sister cityhood relationship between Calgary and Daqing, China is a tacit endorsement of the ongoing genocide in China?
You know, that's a great question, and thank you for raising it. I've been very concerned about what is going on with the Uyghurs. I've been very concerned about overall issues around Canadian-Chinese relations. I'm very concerned about Michaels. And in fact, I refused to participate in Chinese National Day celebrations this year because of these ongoing situations. All of that said, the sister city relationship has been going on, I don't even know how long, decades and decades and decades. To be honest, it's pretty stale. I mean, we don't have any relationship with our sister city. I've never been there. They've never been here. We've never met, unlike some of our other sister cities. It's probably something worth looking at, but on the concept of actually affecting change and saving people's lives and improving human rights, Calgary sister city relationship is not the most important thing here. But I would like to see stronger statements from our federal government in particular on these issues. I think that the ongoing situation with the Uyghurs is probably the most underreported story in the world, and it's an important one. People should be paying more attention to.
Would you call it a genocide?
I don't know what the technical definition of that term is, but I will tell you that last year I had the chance to meet a Uyghur woman who escaped, who told me harrowing stories about what she had escaped from, had not heard from her family since she escaped because they were targeted on her escape, and assumes they're dead. Whether that meets the legal conditions of a genocide or not, it is something that has to be condemned.
Good for Naheed Nenshi. Those are words I never thought I'd say. I think he was speaking the truth there, by the way. I think that was his real answer. I guess a stopped clock is right twice a day. But back to Keean in Ottawa. So let me show you this first. Here's a tweet by Catherine McKenna. She says, I think there's a lot that we can do, but the social media companies themselves need to step up. We don't have to regulate everything, but if you can't regulate yourselves, governments will. And then there's a link to a bizarre story by Martin Patrichan, who says, I'll just read what he said, the Quebec government has a 12-person war room that ferrets out hate, misinformation, and threats against Premier François Legault, published on Facebook and elsewhere. 12 government agents who do nothing but complain about what citizens say about the Premier. Hate. Are you not allowed to hate politicians anymore? I mean, I don't recommend hate as an emotion, but it is a natural emotion, just like jealousy or greed or lust. I mean, go through your list of 7 sins. It's natural. We shouldn't wallow in our negative feelings. We should control ourselves, improve ourselves. But just feeling a feeling is no crime. Hate, I think that's just code for what the Premier's staff don't like. They don't like being criticized, so they call it hate. They hate being criticized. Misinformation, that's just another way of saying a different opinion. Someone who contradicts the Premier. Imagine 12 government bureaucrats holding themselves out as the arbiters of truth. Now threats I get, if they mean threats of violence. But don't we already have trained police and prosecutors who handle the tough stuff like that? Why would political staff be working the crime beat? I was appalled and surprised when I saw that story, and the fact that they directly demand to Facebook to delete what the Premier wants deleted. That's a shocking story. But McKenna retweeted it with approval in French and English, no less. So it wasn't a quick comment off the cuff. It was something she had professionally translated. Let me read it to you again now that I've given you a bit more background. I think there's a lot that we can do, but social media companies themselves need to step up. We don't have to regulate everything, but if you can't regulate yourselves, governments will. Now everyone knows to ignore all the words in the sentence before the word but. That dress looks nice, but. Sure, your hairdo's pretty, but. We don't have to regulate everything, but. And the part to pay attention to is after the but. But if you can't regulate yourselves, governments will. So she said that in English and French. Regulate everything if companies don't. and a link to a crazy, creepy stalker story of stalker bureaucrats stalking citizens for daring to criticize the premier. Stalker, stalker, stalker is so creepy. Voyeurism, sneaky spying. Well, Keean happened to bump into Catherine McKenna yesterday. And look at this.
Hi, Minister. How are you this morning? Could you tell me what you meant when you said yesterday that your government might regulate everything?
I certainly never said that. So
Well, you said it. You actually said it as a threat.
Unfortunately, Rebel News always distorts what I say.
No, it was quite
And,
clear. You said it in a tweet as a threat to companies, digital companies that don't regulate themselves.
I-
You said the government could regulate
You know what I
everything.
want to say to you? That you guys are contributing to hate against me because you spread misinformation and disinformation. I will continue to call out your misinformation and disinformation every single day.
Okay, what was the misinformation? Please tell me. I'd be interested to hear.
The misinformation and disinformation is what you just said right now. That it
You
is
threatened yesterday
absolutely
to
not true,
regulate. You
and I am
said on
absolutely
Twitter.
tired. You know what I don't like? Is that you're contributing to all the hate I'm receiving. I did an event with women politicians. The amount of hate that women politicians is getting from outlets like you is completely unacceptable.
About half of our journalists are women. Why are you targeting us specifically over that? It's your comments that we're asking you about.
First of all, what a crybaby. She calls everyone in the world names. She calls her enemies deniers, tapping into the language of Holocaust denial. She says she's not the minister for all Canadians, by the way. She has no time for critics. She won't even talk to them. She hates them, to borrow a phrase. I mean, if you're going to use an emotional word, she's a bit of a hater. Her house husband, Scott Gilmore, who writes for Maclean's, he's even more foul-mouthed. He calls critics of his wife pigs. He hates people too. So they can dish it out, this power couple, but they sure can't take it. It's a lame cop-out. It's weak to respond to a genuine question and a genuine criticism by saying, you're lying about me, or by saying, you're causing people to hate me. We've shown you the tweet. Keean got it right. She mused about regulating everything, and to be more specific, regulating the internet. She put it in writing in English and French. It was no spur-of-the-moment thing. It was later in the throne speech, actually. Keean was correct, saying he's a liar. Well, actually, I think she's lying. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.